Hey, Gar.
Hey, how you
How you
doing?
doing? Good, good.
Good.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Drinking with Brothers on the Internet. My name is Gavin Keogh. Joining me from the Manbun territory of Dublin is my brother Gareth. Gareth, please say hello.
Hi, how you
So
doing?
this week we are featuring a case that we have on our side from Portugal. So Portugal itself is a much loved area for the Irish people. In terms of a holiday destination, drinking wine from Portugal, visiting, golfing. Why does anybody golf? I don't understand. If you are a golfer, I'm very sorry, but I just do not understand the game. I digress. It's a beautiful place for making wine, and it actually has one of the oldest, has the oldest DO in the world, is in Portugal. But we are going to feature three wines, three regions, and three winemakers here. So the first of that we're going to be talking about is Vino Verde. So Vino Verde itself is actually thought of, a lot of people would mistakenly think that it's actually a grape varietal, but it is a region itself in Portugal. For a lot of people, it just means very blousy and very clean and very easy to drink wines, but that's not always the case. And this is a prime example of that. Gar, please tell us a little bit about our little friend here.
Okay, so this is Paseo wine, and it's made by Giorgio. And this is his summer wine, his Verde wine. But as Gavin said, there's been a bit of a split in Vino Verde. Because Vino Verde is basically a collection of wines. And what the great thing, Vino Verde, up here, up on the Verde coast, the Green Coast, is that it's known for two things: granite and wine. It's got a huge granite soil, which can actually give you great minerality to your wine. So this and what winemakers like Giorgio are doing is that they're making single varietal wines. This is a single varietal. This is Lorero, and this is it's also made a little bit differently because Giorgio grew up in Germany. His parents were German. Sorry, not his parents were German. His parents were Portuguese, and then emigration to Germany, and he came back. He learned his winemaking in Germany. So as a result, is that this wine is cabinet style. So it's a little bit of residual sugar into it as well. Because sometimes Vino Verde can be quite clean, crisp, great, and everything else, but lack a little in the mid palate. This has got a bit of weight in the mid palate, thanks to the actual style of being cabinet, just a little bit of residual sugar in there. But you're talking granite soil. You're talking great minerality to it as well. You're talking about just a tiny bit of bit off dry, and it does have a natural spritz to it as well.
So that petulance there that you kind of talk about, that little bit of spritz there, is a natural thing. So it can be seen as a fault within wine itself, but that's naturally present in that wine. Is that always the case with these with Vino Verde?
Yes, it is always. We always get a little bit of spritz in the wine. But I've actually found myself that what some people do is they actually inject it with a little bit of more commercial stuff. They inject it with
CO2,
a
is
little
it?
bit of CO2,
Yeah,
and it just that's just to do it.
that's
But
just boring.
as I said, trying to get away there is a movement trying to get away from the Vino Verde label uh, because it is sort of like trapped in that sort of view of sort of inexpensive wine, even though this wine is quite good value. So there is actually, so for if you're interested in white wine, especially terroir driven wine, take a look at this area, just the Green Coast or the Verde Coast in the next few years.
Cool. Okay. So second wine we're going to move on to is the Alentejo region. So we're going all the way down south, really. Now, this is kind of seen as a region that, for a lot of people, this kind of say this is fruit driven, very easy drinking, like, wine. But Posio itself is has a little bit more guts to it, I would kind of think. And realistically for me, and for kind of a lot of wine writers, that I'm not a wine writer, but for a lot of wine writers and also myself, this region is starting to become a formidable region, something to be
Mm.
spoken about and something to be very much respected. So, Gar, can you tell us a little bit about Posio and a little bit about this wine
Okay,
region?
so firstly, Pusio means fallow.
Okay.
That's the name because that's what the land was before they actually made it into vineyard. The second thing, when you go there, it looks like Mars. It's because it's perfect separation of two tectonic plates at the moment, like exposing very old soil back to the time when it was a desert, and the place actually looks like Mars. So very interesting terroir, which again brings it on to using the primary grape is a very difficult grape to actually grow, and it's called Alicante Bouchette. And the reason why is because the actual flesh of the grape, most flesh of the grape of nearly all grapes is basically white, but this is actually pink flesh. So as a result, it's a very difficult grape to make wine out of. So a lot of people actually make rosado out of it because it has that lovely pink sort of salmon color to it. But they actually managed with this terroir getting it actually perfectly ripe. They're actually able to do it. So Alicante Bouchette, again, Alicante Bouchette, the second grape in here is not a Portuguese grape, but it's an international grape. And we taste a lot of wines around here, and they're for me just a little bit hollow in the center. And this is given Syrah. And this gives a bit of juiciness, a bit of more aromatics, and it really just fills up the mid palate again. And for me, again, this is a perfect wine. I actually have this a little bit chilled, perfect lunchtime wine, and also perfect for grilled lamb chops, grilled goat chops, something grilled over, if you mind, over charcoal, or even vine cuttings as I do over there, and that's what I'll have that with. But a little bit chilled in the sunshine, absolutely perfect.
I think you're appealing to my general nature there by mentioning two of my favorite things. One is lunchtime drinking, and number two is something over a barbecue. And I like the idea of this being cooked, of having some sort of meat cooked over the vines, the wood of the vines itself. But I digress on what I want to have for my lunch on a Thursday. Anyway, moving swiftly on to our final wine. So this is the Douro Valley. So the Douro Valley itself is steeped in history. Absolutely wonderful area, and probably one of the more difficult areas to make wine itself. Not originally a wine region, but a port region, and we're going to get into a little bit of that as well. Stretches, has a huge amount of distance. This versus a lot of wine regions when you kind of go, like, you go to a wine region and you see, like in Suave, you see the big hill, and that's where wine should be made. And then you see the flat, and that's where all the commercial stuff is made. And that's kind of how a lot of wine regions are. Whereas the Douro itself is an inhospitable place to try and get around. It's difficult to get by car, by foot, anywhere. But that then makes it a perfect region for making wine. And Crasto is seen as one of the principal and best winemakers there. So why don't you tell us a little bit about them, Gar?
Well, as I said, Gavin, the Douro come from the Douro Valley. The Douro Valley actually is one of those few places you go in the world that actually looks exactly like it does in the postcards.
Yeah.
You go in, it's a small little roads that wouldn't be lost in the west of Ireland, and then all the vines are coming from terraces cut in the hillside or the cliff edge. Then obviously everything's hand harvested. As Gavin said before, this is the home of port, and it wasn't until they started making still wines up until quite relatively recently. 400 years ago, back in the 1600s, I think, it was the first DOC to be designated full stop. Before France, before anyone else. This is actually where they did. The reason why is because, especially going over to London, this is actually a great way to actually preserve wines, because we didn't have refrigeration, we didn't have any of the modern technology that we have now, or understanding, or even scientific understanding. So what they did, sherry was one way, port was the other. Port was basically you stop the fermentation by putting brandy in. That basically helped fortify the wine, but also had residual sugar to it as well. So that's what port was. And when you go to Porto, you see the port house like Sandyman, whatever you have there. Now they're all English run, so it's great. Crasto does do port, but also it is Portuguese run and is Portuguese owned, which is more importantly. This is still wine now that we're talking to, and this comes from old vines. So again, going back to, it was actually one of the oldest places in the world to actually grow grapes. So it's before you had international grapes or everything else. So this is a field blend, because there's something like 25 to 30 different varietals here. There's a constant cross pollination or crossings and everything else being found in this field, and that's quite natural for port. So old vines produce the best fruit. With this, it's completely like a field blend, which for me is the best expression of terroir, because it says everything's coming out of here. And then after that, after being fermented in stainless steel and concrete with natural yeasts, it is then put in 18 months in mostly French oak, but also American oak. And as a result, this for me is completely different to the last wine. Busio was real, like great lunchtime wine, really smooth, really elegant. This is more gutsy wine. It demands a lot more intention. It has dark fruits, it's got brambles, it's got tannins, it's got a little bit of spice, and also white spice, and also vanilla coming through it from the barrels. And as a result, this is much more evening time, serious wine, decanted beforehand, but it's absolutely brilliant.
It's consenting of its only wine. It's kind of that wine that puts hairs in your chest. It's not going to one that you're going to be kind of, as you say, drinking at lunchtime. Although if you do want to drink it at lunchtime, you just mightn't actually achieve much with the rest of the day.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Good. Gar, thank you so much for all of the education, all of the information on Portugal. We will be back to you the same time next week at 8 p.m. on Instagram TV, 8:30 on Facebook Live, and on YouTube Live now as well. You can follow us there. If you'd like to make any comments, please make comments below or tag us in. Send messages through Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger as well. Till Thursday of next week, we bid you adieu. Gareth, say goodbye. Bye-bye.